Joining us now is John Findlay. He is the executive director of the Republican Party of Virginia. Now, the Republican Party of Virginia not doing very well. We got a new chairman that's going to get elected in, I think, the next couple weeks. We'll talk about that. John, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. Appreciate it.
No problem. John Findlay with us. So, John, you're the executive director of the Republican Party of Virginia. So, John Whitbeck, the chairman, resigned. So, Jack Wilson is the chairman of the 4th Congressional District, which, by the way, is my district. And he's expected to be the new chairman. Just give us the ins and outs. How does this work?
Yeah, sure. I mean, whenever there's a vacancy midterm, chairman run for a 4-year term. Whenever there's a vacancy, we have quarterly meetings of our board, the State Central Committee, and per our party plan, at the next meeting after resignation, a new chairman is elected by the body of the State Central Committee, which are it's currently around 78 people. Republican leaders are elected from around the state at various terms of office, and so they will elect the next chairman. From what I understand, Jack Wilson is running. He's released a list of over 52 people. The magic number to hit is 40, and so he's running. I believe that Chuck Smith is also attempting a run. I haven't seen any, lists of endorsers or anything like that, but we'll all find out on September the 8th.
Okay, so let's bottom line this. So Jack Wilson, he's running September the 8th. Now, this election is by the state committee members, right?
Yeah, yep.
So you have to be a member of the Republican
people. Yep.
How many?
78.
All right, so the 78 people. The last time I talked to Jack, he said he already had 40 of those votes locked up, committed to him. That puts him 50% plus 1. Chuck Smith, I understand, I've heard is running. He's not called me up. And, I mean, in order to run, you have to, have relationships, right? Because this isn't like you're going to a convention or something. There's a pool of 78 people. So Wilson is going to be the chairman. That'll be September 8th. And then he will finish the term for John Whitbeck, or does he get a full 4-year term?
No,
How does this work?
He'll finish the term for John Whitbeck, and there'll be a new election in 2020 at our convention in 2020, state convention 2020.
Okay, so that'll be the state convention in 2020, and it'll be Jack if he runs again versus whomever else, and then you get the conventioneers there, and that's how it's decided. Okay, so look, the Republican Party of Virginia not doing very well. You guys got crushed in 2017. You're not going to win U.S. Senate race. That is looking like a colossal blowout. So the only thing you got going, right? You're not going to win that, John. So let's not even waste.
Listen, there's still plenty. I mean, if you would have told me 2 years ago in 2016 that Trump was going to,
I did.
What was everybody saying at this time?
I did tell you that.
Except for you, John. Everybody else was saying Trump's going to lose massively. We're going to lose Texas. We're going to lose Arizona. And then, 2 months later, so let's see what happens after Labor Day. I mean, I would not throw the baby out of the bathwater yet.
Okay, well, Corey Stewart isn't going to beat Tim Kaine, so let's just not. And when that race is over, I think that'll be the end of the Stewart running for statewide office, I would think. But I guess maybe, it's like that. Remember that thing that you used to do as your child would do? You have babies, John, where they spin a little box and the clown pops up out of it. I mean, maybe that'll continue to happen. But I think the best thing the Republican Party of Virginia can do when this is over is completely exorcise their soul from Corey Stewart, and you guys can move on and nominate viable candidates that might have an opportunity to actually get votes and win an election. Now, let's get to Congress. Let's start in the 5th District, if we may. The Leslie Coburn, Denver Riggleman race. I've got Riggleman is a pretty solid favorite there, but Coburn raising a lot of money, and you've got a little something to say on this race, John.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you were talking earlier in your segment about the psycho nominees the Democrats are nominating in these states. The Ocasio-Mastos, the Andrew Gillums. I mean, really, predating both of those was Leslie Coburn. I mean, the Democrats had some mainstream nominees, and then, of course, Leslie Coburn got nominated, and had written a horribly anti-Semitic book in the 90s, and has just really been tagged with that ever since. I mean, it's so bad, John, that that a previous Democrat nominee who ran in the 5th Congressional District just yesterday publicly endorsed Denver Riggleman.
Who is that?
I mean, I don't have the gentleman's name. I saw a news release come across the wire, late breaking yesterday. But
so look, her book was written in the 90s. I read her book. I mean, she and her husband, Colburn and her husband, first of all, she's a gifted writer. The book was really well written. And I enjoyed.
That's garbage, John. That's total garbage.
No, she's a good writer.
The New York Times called that book Israel bashing for Israel bashing's sake. The L.A. Times said it was thinly sourced conspiracy theories. The founder of the Richmond Holocaust Museum called it an anti-Semitic rag. We're just going to have to disagree on whether or not it was a well-written book. So.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with her perspective, but, it's just, she did a book that basically, and I'm not arguing this point with you, I'm just saying that, she did a book and she did her hypothesis here is, she really explored the Israeli-U.S. relationship, and, she had a lot of facts in there that were pretty interesting, going back to how Israel was created and things like that. But look, she obviously had a certain perspective on it. Because you have a perspective and you don't like the way the relationship between the two countries has gone down, how does that translate into being an anti-Semite?
Oh yeah, well, very, very easily. When you make up conspiracy theories that blame the Jews for everything, that's a huge problem. When you say that Saddam Hussein was justified in invading Kuwait because there was a secret planned Israeli ground offensive that nobody else has had any knowledge of, but you have put it in your book without any sourcing, that's blaming Israel and coming up with a conspiracy theory.
Well, that was crazy.
Drug cartel. Wait 1 minute. When you say the Medellin drug cartel and Pablo Escobar's drug trade in the United States, that the Israelis and the Jews are secretly backing it, that's a anti-Semitic rumor. When you say that Israel is behind the genocide of native people in Guatemala without really any factual basis, and you just keep on making up rumors about Israel, it's really goes to the history of these, I think it was called the Elders of the Protocols of Zion, that blame the Jews and now blame Israel as well for all the world's problems and allege this massive conspiracy. That's why that book is on 3 white supremacist websites, John. As further reading, Good Times, Stormfront, who organized Charlottesville, there's posts about how the book is good reading. If you try and buy the book on Amazon, the recommended books that come up for purchase are that the Mossad did 9/11 kind of stuff. So, again, that's why it's anti-Semitic, John.
Well, I don't like to throw that term around lightly, but I do agree with this. I thought the analysis of the Saddam Hussein invasion of Kuwait was kind of ridiculous. I thought I remember reading that and saying, what? Because, history shows very, very clearly that Saddam Hussein thought that Kuwait was should be the 11th province of Iraq, period. He believed that as the head of the Ba'ath Party for many years and decided to annex them and went to April Gillespie, who was our ambassador to Iraq at the time, who basically stated to him a 35-year U.S. Middle East policy, which we don't get involved in internal affairs. And Saddam Hussein took that as the U.S. would stay out of it, and he went and attempted to annex Kuwait, and the whole Middle East thing blew up, and we're still dealing with it today. But that didn't have anything to do with the Israelis or the Israeli government. So that one was weird. So you're contending then that based on this book written in the 90s that Leslie Colburn is an anti-Semite. That's what your conclusion is. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, it's not just our conclusion. Jay Epson, the founder of the Richmond Holocaust Museum, who is a man he's a great man. You should meet him. I highly recommend it. He's a survivor of Hitler's final solution, survived the concentration camps, still living, breathing today. he is familiar with the book, and he said that Leslie Coburn is an anti-Semite as well. And I believe people who have seen anti-Semitism, looked that evil in the eye and survived it, I will trust his and take his word any day as well. So it's not just us saying this. Multiple other sourcing of people have said this. And Leslie is just refusing, she's refusing to answer, hey, why is your book on 3 anti-Semitic white nationalist websites as a good source review? Why did your co-author and husband go and in a debate at Oxford say that the Israel lobby controls U.S. foreign policy, controls the Congress, controls the executive branch, and controls the media? That's a direct quote from her co-author and husband, Andrew Coburn, that the Israel lobby, not my words, his words, controls the U.S. government and U.S. foreign policy. I mean, if we had a candidate who said something like that, John, I'd be on here condemning that candidate, and we'd be working to get them off the ballot. I mean, so she needs to answer those questions. She really does.
And so far, she's not answered them. I know that I've invited her on my show on multiple occasions, and every time I got feedback is they got back to me in July and they wanted to book her in September, and I don't book 2 months out. I mean, just don't do it. It was kind of ridiculous. But, I mean, basically what they wanted me to do was stop saying she's not on my show, and then they gave me a date in September, and then they would just cancel it. So, I mean, I've been down that path, so I just said no. But, she has an open invitation. We've asked her on, try to give her equal time. I can't get her on. I've got Abigail on running in the 7th District.
And I mean, can we actually talk about Abigail Spanberger for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and so Abigail Spanberger running the 7th District, I worked for the CIA previously, and really weird situation over the past 48 hours. Late, I think it was Tuesday night, we get this, New York Times headline, that the Congressional Leadership Fund, Paul Ryan's super PAC, had released Abigail Spanberger's a document that she had submitted to, for an application to join the CIA and work for the U.S. Postal Service's, security branch. And she goes and she accuses the PAC of illegally obtaining the document. I mean, it's very, very serious allegation. I mean, saying that basically accusing them of either breaking in or somebody of illegally leaking the document. Within 6 hours, it turns out that no, they obtained it via FOIA legally. That I mean, you have Spanberger who's running as I'm this CIA person, law and order type. Throwing out and accusing somebody of illegal activity and then being proven wrong in less than 6 hours' time. A BuzzFeed article came out contradicting her, which leads me to 2 conclusions. John is one when it comes to law enforcement. Abigail Spanberger is far more Barney Fife than she is James Bond. And number one, and number two. That number two, she is terrified of the voters of the 7th District finding out about her record and about her previous work. I mean, and she will do anything, including lying, falsely saying that people broke the law, to try and prevent people from finding out about her record. Her record. So
well, wait a minute. The Barney Fife thing, okay. I mean, she has had a very storied career in the Central Intelligence Agency, both covert and overt operations that she ran both in the field and behind a desk. So, okay, so
yeah.
let's get...
Well, when you accuse somebody of illegal activity, I mean, and that's a charge. She said that they broke the law, and then the DCCC then said we don't think that they broke the law. And then 4 hours later, BuzzFeed releases an article that says, well, we have the complete documentation, and yeah, they FOIA'd it, and we responded to the FOIA. What's your conclusion? Is that somebody who's operating and firing on all cylinders when they accuse somebody of breaking the law publicly in a New York Times story, and then they're proven wrong hours later? I mean, that's amateur hour, John.
Well, that is. I would say in this campaign it's amateur hour, but I wouldn't maybe indict her entire career. And, you know, the application she put in for the USPS, I mean, she has a right to try to get a job doing that. I mean, she's got the qualifications. But I think the way that the campaign responded, look, I'm going to find out. John Findlay, thanks for being with us. Thanks for laying all these facts out. And as you see them,
thanks.
John Findlay, the executive director of the Republican Party of Virginia.